Listen, son. No one's coming. No one's checking on you. No one's planning your comeback. No one's waiting to applaud when you finally decide to move. You've been sitting there, hoping the world will notice your struggle. It won't. The world doesn't care how tired you are, how unfair it's been, or how much potential you think you have. Potential means nothing if you refuse to execute. This is your wake-up call. You've been asleep behind excuses, blaming circumstances, blaming people, blaming pain. You've mistaken sympathy for progress. You've mistaken attention for achievement. You keep telling yourself that someday it'll click, that someday you'll feel ready. But that day doesn't come. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. You want someone to understand you. You want someone to tell you it's okay. But that comfort you crave is exactly what's killing your hunger. The truth is brutal. You're not waiting for help. You're hiding from responsibility. No one's supposed to save you. That's your job. And the longer you wait for a savior, the weaker you become. The world doesn't stop spinning because you're lost. It won't pause while you heal. It won't slow down because life broke you. You either move or you're left behind. And that's what separates men who build from men who beg. One takes control, the other waits for mercy. You think life's unfair? It is. You think you've been wronged? You have. But fairness isn't a requirement for greatness. Discipline is. Every man faces a moment when he realizes no one's coming. That moment is terrifying, but it's also freedom. Because once you accept that no one will do it for you, you stop waiting and start building. You stop hoping and start moving. You've been conditioned to seek validation, likes, approval, recognition. You crave to be seen. But real men don't need eyes on them to work. They grind in silence because the mission doesn't need witnesses. When you finally understand that nobody cares, you unlock power. The kind of power that comes from self-reliance, from doing what others won't, from standing when everything inside you screams to stop. That's when you become dangerous, because no one can control a man who needs nothing from them. You have one responsibility: to rise, not to complain, not to explain, to rise. No one's checking your progress, no one's tracking your pain, no one's measuring your effort, but the mirror is, and the mirror never lies. Every day you hesitate, you give ground. Every hour you waste waiting for support, you build weakness instead of muscle. The man who waits dies standing still. You keep asking for signs. You keep asking for motivation. You keep asking for the right time. But the only sign you'll ever get is this one: no one's coming. You are the plan. You are the backup. You are the only one who can decide that this story changes now. When you stop expecting the world to lift you, you finally start lifting yourself. When you stop expecting life to be fair, you start fighting smarter. When you stop expecting comfort, you start commanding results. You're alone, yes, but that's exactly how men are forged. Pressure, isolation, repetition. You either break under it, or you become something unbreakable. So here's the truth, stripped of every excuse. No one cares how you feel. No one's coming to make it right. And that's good, because now you know. Everything that happens next is on you. Get up, lock in, and move. You're the rescue mission.
You call it staying informed. You call it keeping up. You call it networking, research, inspiration. But deep down, you know what it is. distraction dressed as progress. Every scroll, every refresh, every notification is a leash around your focus. You think you're learning, but you're being drained. You think you're moving forward, but you're standing still. Eyes glued to a glowing screen, mind addicted to noise. You wake up, check your phone before you even stand. You scroll through other men's victories while your own dreams collect dust. You study their routines, their bodies, their achievements, convincing yourself it's motivation, but it's envy. You don't admire them, you resent them. You compare your chapter 1 to their chapter 20 and call it research. That's not research, that's self-sabotage. You say you want focus, but you can't handle silence. You say you want clarity, but you feed on chaos. Every time you open your phone, you surrender your attention, and attention is the currency of discipline. You're not losing time, you're being robbed. Every scroll is a thief. Every distraction is a debt. You pay it in hours you'll never get back. The noise has become your comfort zone. You hide inside it because it keeps you from facing yourself. As long as you're busy consuming, you never have to confront your own stagnation. You mistake mental activity for actual movement. But noise isn't progress. It's paralysis disguised as purpose. You think you're building something. You're not. You're performing productivity for an audience that doesn't care. You document more than you execute. You talk more than you act. You plan more than you produce. And you justify it with words like strategy and networking. But strategy means nothing without action. Networking means nothing without results. You say you want peace, but you chase stimulation. You say you want greatness, but you settle for attention. You keep feeding your brain junk and wonder why your discipline starves. You've mistaken information for wisdom. You've confused motion with momentum. You've traded the grind for the illusion of being in the loop. But the men who win don't care about loops. They build systems. They don't chase updates. They make moves that demand attention. You need to understand something. Distraction doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as importance. It comes as opportunities, notifications, trends, urgent messages. It talks like progress. It looks like relevance, but it steals your focus in silence. Every app, every feed, every platform is designed to control your dopamine. You think you're making choices, but you're being programmed, trained to chase micro-pleasures instead of long-term power. You're not weak for falling for it, you're weak for staying in it. Discipline requires detox, not from substances, from stimulation. The modern battlefield isn't physical, it's mental. The war is for your attention. And if you can't master it, you lose before you even begin. You say you want to build something great, but when was the last time you sat in silence? No music, no scrolling, no noise, and just thought. You can't remember, can you? Because silence scares you. Silence exposes you. It reminds you of how much time you've wasted, how many excuses you've recycled, how much of your potential you've drowned in distraction. You're afraid of the quiet because in the quiet you meet yourself and you don't like what you see. So you drown it out. You turn up the volume. You scroll. You watch. You consume. Because noise is easier than accountability. But here's the truth. Focus is forged in silence, and silence requires courage. It's not the world's job to quiet down. It's your job to detach. You want to be great? Turn the noise off. Unfollow people who drain you. Mute notifications that pull you away from your purpose. Delete apps that steal your focus. Cut off conversations that go nowhere. Your mind is a weapon, but only if it's clean. You've filled it with garbage, gossip, news, memes, opinions, arguments. You wonder why you can't focus. You've polluted the system. You can't build clarity in chaos. Every day, the noise demands your energy. It whispers, check this, watch that, you might miss something. But discipline whispers louder, nothing you miss matters. You need to choose what kind of man you are, the one who listens to noise or the one who creates signal. The noise wants you reactive. Discipline makes you strategic. The noise wants you emotional. Discipline makes you precise. The noise wants you distracted. Discipline makes you dangerous. Every moment you spend feeding the noise, you become smaller. Every moment you pull away from it, you grow sharper. Silence doesn't make you invisible, it makes you focused. You don't owe anyone updates. You don't need to prove your grind. You don't need to announce your plan. The quiet man always wins because he's too busy working to perform. You have to learn to disappear, not physically, digitally, mentally, emotionally. Withdraw from the noise until you can hear your own mission again, until your thoughts are yours, not a reflection of what the world told you to want. The man who locks in is dangerous because he's not reachable by distraction. He's too busy executing while everyone else is watching, scrolling, and talking. So kill the noise, cut the connection, silence the world. Let everyone else chase attention. You chase mastery. Because when you finally shut the noise out, you'll hear something you've missed for years, your own potential calling for you to wake up and move. And when that voice returns, you'll realize focus isn't something you find, it's something you protect.
Listen. You keep running from silence because silence tells the truth. It's the one place where the world can't lie to you, where there's no applause, no distraction, no validation. Just you, your thoughts, and the reality you've been avoiding. You call it loneliness, but it's not. It's exposure. It's the sound of your weakness echoing back at you. And you've been drowning it in noise for years because you can't stand the weight of honesty. But that honesty is where discipline begins. Every great man, every disciplined machine of focus has walked through isolation, alone, stripped of praise, stripped of comfort, stripped of everything soft, because that's the only place you find out what's left when everything unnecessary is gone. Isolation isn't punishment, it's the forge. It burns away the illusion that you need people to validate your mission. It kills dependency, pride, ego, distraction, all the soft parts of you that keep you weak. When you lock in, you start cutting away the unnecessary until only purpose remains. The world tells you to stay connected. It feeds you lies about balance, community, networking. But the truth? Most men use connection as an escape. They hide in groups because being alone exposes how little they've built. They talk about accountability because they can't handle self-responsibility. You don't need a crowd. You need clarity. You don't need encouragement. You need structure. You don't need motivation. You need repetition. Isolation is not retreat. It's a recalibration. When you pull away from the world, you stop absorbing its noise. You stop being a reflection of everything around you and start becoming a reflection of your own design. That's the lock-in, the mental shift where you close the gates and build in silence. No updates, no validation, no audience. Just work. Ruthless, mechanical, non-negotiable work. You need to vanish for a while. Let them wonder where you went. Let them talk. Because when you come back, you won't explain, you'll demonstrate. But you can't transform in chaos. You can't rebuild with constant interference. To create a new version of yourself, you need solitude like a soldier needs armor. Every distraction, every friend who doesn't respect your grind, every habit that keeps you comfortable, they all have to go. You owe loyalty to your mission, not your social circle. Isolation will strip you bare. It will take away your excuses. It will confront you with your laziness, your fear, your lack of discipline. That's why most men run from it, because isolation makes you accountable. It leaves you no one to blame.
You must learn to own your attention like a weapon, because if you can't control your focus, you'll never control your future. In isolation, you'll feel everything more intensely: the hunger, the fear, the doubt, the memories. All the noise you've been running from comes back louder. That's the test. You either drown in it or you dominate it. You'll start to see how much of your life was built around avoiding discomfort. How many decisions were made to please people? How many actions were driven by validation? How much of your identity was borrowed, a collage of what others expected you to be? Isolation strips that all away. It burns false identity until only truth remains. And the truth is simple: you've been soft, you've been dependent, you've been scattered, but not anymore. In the lock-in, weakness has no room to hide. You face it, confront it, and kill it, one habit, one thought, one excuse at a time. You start small. Wake up at the same time every day. No negotiation. Train your body even when it aches. No debate. Work on your craft even when no one's watching. No shortcuts. Every repetition in silence becomes a layer of armor. Every day you execute without emotion, you reinforce your foundation. The world doesn't see it, but you feel it. You start walking different, thinking different, acting different, because isolation transforms you from the inside out, slowly, brutally, permanently. It's not motivation that drives you anymore. It's structure, it's order, it's discipline. Motivation asks how you feel. Discipline doesn't care. Motivation fades when life hurts. Discipline thrives on pain. When you lock in, your life becomes a mission. You stop reacting. You start commanding. You stop drifting. You start directing. You stop existing. You start building. Every morning becomes a battlefield. Every action becomes a strike. Every breath becomes a reminder that no one's coming to save you, but you don't need them to. In isolation, you become self-sufficient. You start to respect silence because it becomes proof that you're still standing. You stop needing applause because you know you're building something real. You stop chasing validation because you've learned that mastery is its own reward. You'll lose people. The undisciplined always fall away when you choose elevation. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. You've upgraded. They'll say you're distant, and they'll be right. You've locked in. They'll say you're cold, and they'll be right. You've stopped needing warmth from weakness. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. The lock-in isn't for them, it's for you. You're not supposed to be accessible. You're supposed to be becoming something rare. You're not supposed to be social. You're supposed to be surgical. You're not supposed to chase balance. You're supposed to build dominance. In this silence, you'll rediscover something the world has forgotten: pride in patience. The satisfaction that comes from doing something difficult and not broadcasting it.
The quiet confidence of a man who doesn't need to prove because he's already becoming proof. Isolation gives you back your hunger. You remember why you started. You remember what you wanted before the noise, before the opinions, before the distractions. You stop looking sideways. You stop comparing. You stop doubting. Your focus tightens. Your vision clears. Your actions align. And for the first time in years, you're dangerous again. Because a man who can be alone and stay disciplined doesn't need permission. He doesn't need encouragement. He doesn't need recognition. He just moves, cold, controlled, consistent. When you emerge from the lock-in, you won't come back the same. Your eyes will be different, quieter, sharper. Your energy will be heavier, not loud, but undeniable. You'll carry yourself like a man who knows what he's built because you've earned it in silence. They'll ask where you've been. Tell them you were busy becoming who you were meant to be. You don't explain growth to those who stayed stagnant. You don't justify transformation to those who never locked in. You just execute. Isolation is where men are rebuilt. It's where noise dies and purpose is born. It's where the weak version of you is buried and the disciplined one takes his place.
So disappear. Not to escape, but to evolve. Lock in, because the man who masters solitude masters the world. And when you finally step back into the light, you won't need to say a word. Your presence will do the talking. Your results will speak your name. Your silence will command respect. That's the power of the lock-in. Isolation is the weapon. Discipline is the blade. And you are the man who forged both. Kill the idea that you need to feel ready. Kill the idea that you need to feel inspired. Kill the idea that you need to feel anything at all. You've been lied to. Motivation is not strength, it's seduction. It makes you believe that energy creates action, but it's the opposite. Action creates energy. Motivation waits for the perfect conditions. Discipline builds regardless of them. Understand this. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is fire. Motivation dies in rain. Discipline burns underwater. You've been chasing a feeling that was never meant to last. That's why you start strong and fade fast. That's why you're consistent for a week, then disappear. You've built your habits on emotion, and emotion is unstable. You can't build a legacy on something that changes with the weather. When you depend on motivation, you give your power away. You become a slave to mood, to comfort, to inspiration. One bad day and you crumble. One distraction and you're done. That's weakness disguised as effort. You can't afford that anymore. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't need your permission. It just moves, cold, relentless, unquestioning. You don't wake up and decide to be disciplined. You command it, you enforce it, you live it. Every time you act without feeling like it, you're declaring war on weakness. Every time you execute in silence, you're killing the part of you that needs comfort to move. That's how men are built, through repetition, not inspiration. You think motivation makes you powerful. No, it makes you emotional, and emotion is chaos. It makes you unpredictable, unstable, undisciplined. A man led by emotion will always be broken by it. The disciplined man operates like a machine. He doesn't move based on energy. He moves based on standard. He doesn't execute when he's inspired. He executes because it's required. There's no negotiation, no bargaining with comfort, no internal debate about whether it's worth it today. It's always worth it, because the mission doesn't stop when you're tired. The mission doesn't stop when you're hurt. The mission doesn't stop when you're uninspired. It only stops when you quit. Motivation is a child of impulse. Discipline is the father of consistency. You can't trust a child to lead you through war. You need a commander, calm, ruthless, unshaken. When motivation fades, the undisciplined fall apart. The disciplined adapt. They adjust. They keep moving. Because they were never doing it for the feeling. They were doing it for the result. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs chase inspiration. Professionals chase execution. Discipline is not emotional. It's mechanical. You set the standard. You hit it every single time. Even when you're angry, execute. Even when you're lost, execute. Even when you're doubting everything, execute. Because every time you act against emotion, you strengthen control. Every time you push through pain, you rewire your mind. You're teaching your body that comfort no longer commands you. That's when the shift happens. You stop waiting for the right moment. You become the right moment. You stop searching for drive. You become drive itself. And when that happens, when you no longer need to feel good to move, you become unstoppable. Because no external force can slow a man who doesn't rely on them. You'll stop chasing motivation videos. You'll stop needing pep talks. You'll stop waiting for the mood to be right. You just act. Coldly, efficiently, consistently. That's when discipline becomes identity. It's not something you do, it's who you are. You train because you breathe. You work because you exist. You execute because that's the law of your being. No one sees you, no one praises you, no one applauds you, but you don't need them. You've outgrown validation. Because the man who kills motivation and replaces it with discipline doesn't need energy, he generates it. He doesn't need confidence, he builds it through repetition. He doesn't need emotion, he controls it through action. Motivation is temporary, discipline is eternal. Kill the feelings, stick to the plan. And when your body screams to stop, you keep going. Because that's what separates the ordinary from the built different. That's what creates men who don't just move, they conquer. And that's the only truth worth living by.
You want freedom. You say you want control over your life. But you don't get freedom by doing what you feel. You earn it by doing what must be done. Every day, the same way, without hesitation. Discipline is not punishment, it's structure. And structure is the foundation of power. You think order restricts you? It doesn't. It refines you. It cuts away weakness, distraction, and emotion until only the mission remains. Wake up at the same time every day. Not when you feel rested, not when you feel ready. When the alarm hits, you move. That's the first battle of the day. Win it, and the rest follow. Your mornings set your rhythm. If you wake up late, you're already reacting to the world. If you wake up early, you command it. Routine is not boredom, it's dominance. Every repetition sharpens the blade. Every system removes doubt. When your day runs on order, emotion loses its leverage. You must build your life like a machine. Inputs, outputs, systems. Your mind decides, your body obeys. No negotiation, no exceptions. When you operate on routine, you eliminate chaos. You stop wasting energy on decisions that don't matter. What time to wake up, what to eat, when to train. Automate them. Because every ounce of mental energy spent deciding is energy stolen from execution. The undisciplined man lives by impulse. The disciplined man lives by code. That code must be absolute. Non-negotiables, tasks that happen no matter what. Even if the sky falls, even if you're tired, even if no one's watching, you complete them. These are your anchors. They hold you steady when emotion tries to drag you under. Wake time, work block, training, reflection, sleep. These aren't routines, they're declarations. Each one says, I am in control. I am not moved by comfort. You can't build strength without repetition. You can't build consistency without order. And you can't build a legacy if you keep resetting your standards every time you feel off. The man who thrives in chaos is the man who has mastered routine. While others panic, he executes. While others hesitate, he moves, because he's trained his body and mind to obey the mission, not the mood. You must make your schedule sacred. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Every skipped session, every delayed task, every "I'll do it later," it compounds. Discipline dies in inches. You don't lose focus overnight, you bleed it slowly through compromise. That's why your system must be ruthless. No room for softness, no space for excuses. You don't try to stay consistent, you are consistent. Write down your plan. Execute it every day until it becomes instinct. If it says train at 6, you train at 6. If it says write at 9, you write at 9. No emotion, no resistance, no delay. That's what real control looks like. The world praises creativity and flexibility, but mastery belongs to those who can repeat without fail. A man who can repeat excellence without needing inspiration is a weapon. Because while others wait for the right conditions, you've already executed 10 times. While they're talking about goals, you're stacking results. That's what order gives you, momentum. Every system you build is a shield against weakness. Every repetition reinforces identity. Every day you execute your plan, you remind yourself, I am not like them. You want to win? You don't need more motivation. You need more structure. You don't need better feelings. You need better systems. When you live by order, life bends to you. When you live by emotion, you bend to life. There's no balance, only hierarchy, and discipline sits at the top. Because the man who builds order doesn't just survive chaos, he profits from it. When others break, he adapts. When others rest, he refines. When others quit, he ascends. That's why structure is freedom, because it removes choice, it removes hesitation, it removes weakness. You don't think anymore, you execute. You don't react, you respond. You don't hope, you build. Every great man you've ever admired had a system, a framework that ruled his days. It wasn't motivation that made him great, it was repetition. That's your blueprint. Plan, execute, repeat, until your routine becomes your armor, until your actions no longer depend on emotion, until you move with such precision that hesitation dies the moment it appears. This is how discipline becomes destiny. Not through passion, not through inspiration, through order, through repetition, through ruthless execution. Built different men don't chase the feeling of control, they engineer it. Every morning, every habit, every act of consistency is a brick in the wall that separates you from mediocrity. So lock in, build your system, and live by it, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because the man who builds order wins even in chaos. And when the world falls apart, he stands untouched, cold, focused, unstoppable. You fell, you broke, you lost.
Good. Now we begin. Pain is the test. Failure is the forge. Every scar you carry is proof that you entered the fire and didn't run. The weak look at pain and see punishment. The disciplined see it as permission. Permission to evolve, to adapt, to rise sharper than before. You thought you were done? That's emotion talking. Pain doesn't end you, it refines you. Every time you're knocked down, you get a new blueprint, a clearer map of who you are, what you lack, and what must be destroyed within you. You want to rebuild? Then stop pitying yourself. Stop narrating your losses like they make you special. No one cares what broke you. What matters is what you build from it. You rebuild in silence. You don't talk about healing, you live it. You don't post about the comeback, you prepare it. Every rep, every late night, every lonely moment of self-doubt becomes the foundation for the man you're becoming. Discipline is not about how much you can take. It's about what you do with what you take. The pain is fuel. The failure is feedback. Every time it hurts, that's your signal to go harder, to go colder, to go deeper into the mission. You can't avoid pain. You can only assign it purpose. Turn every setback into strategy. Turn every heartbreak into hunger. Turn every loss into a lesson written in blood. The man who learns from pain doesn't repeat it. He evolves past it. Now you rebuild with precision, not with hope, not with emotion, with systems, focus, and quiet aggression. That's how men are reborn, not in noise, but in stillness. You lock in, you recalibrate, you return to the grind without announcing it. Because when the world finally sees you again, it won't recognize you. They'll look at you and see the same face, but the eyes will tell a different story. They'll see distance, control, fire contained behind silence. That's the return. No explanations, no apologies, no revenge posts, just action. Cold, consistent, surgical execution. You don't prove people wrong, you prove yourself right.
You don't shout your transformation. You let the results speak the language of discipline. The man who returns from isolation doesn't need to announce he's changed. His energy says it for him. He doesn't need validation. He became his own validation. He doesn't talk about focus. He is focus. He doesn't seek respect. He commands it. Because when you've rebuilt yourself from nothing, you stop chasing approval from anything. When you return, you move differently. You walk like time itself is your ally. You speak less because silence is your weapon. You react slower because emotions no longer control you. You execute harder because you understand what's at stake. That's the difference between motivation and mastery. Motivation screams, mastery whispers. You've already been through the fire. You've already felt the sting of loss. Now it's time to come back stronger, colder, sharper. Not the same man, the evolved one. The one who uses pain as a compass. The one who uses solitude as a forge. The one who uses failure as fuel. You don't rebuild to impress. You rebuild to never break the same way twice. And now, as you stand here, focused, silent, disciplined, there's only one thing left: battle. The call to battle isn't about fighting the world. It's about fighting yourself. Every day, every moment, every thought that tries to pull you back into weakness. You will wake up and face the same choice: feelings or mission. Every morning, the war begins again. But this time, you're armed. You've built the structure. You've buried the noise. You've rebuilt the man. Now you move with intent. No distractions, no delays, no detours. You stay locked in until the mission is complete. There will be days you want to quit. You won't. There will be moments you want to slow down. You'll speed up. Because you don't live for comfort anymore. You live for control. You'll focus on yourself until there's nothing left to prove, only more to build. You'll isolate until your strength becomes undeniable. You'll execute until your results speak in silence, louder than any word could. This is your resurrection. Not through emotion, not through approval, through discipline. So listen carefully. Lock in. Cut the noise. Kill the feelings. Rebuild in silence. Return in power. And rise on your own terms. Because no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to hand you discipline. You either take command of your life or watch it decay in excuses. Focus on yourself. Lock in. Come back stronger. Built different. Be the man your father couldn't be.